Redditors who made a lot of money by sheer randomness. What's your story? I won $5,000 playing bingo on a cruise. I have only been on one cruise. And it was the only time I have played bingo in my life. I have retired from both. First time I went to Vegas after turning 21, I played a slot machine. Won $3,000 on my first try. Haven't gambled since. The summer after my freshman year in college, I was walking my little 20-pound dog on a street near my house. A neighbor lady was walking her two dogs who were a husky and some other similar sized dog. The husky attacked my dog and in the process I got some teeth marks on my wrist. Since the neighbor's dog started it and the owner obviously couldn't control it, I wanted them to pay the vet fees for my dog, which was under $500. The guy ended up being a DCK about it and my roommate's dad was a lawyer, so about a year and a half later I ended up with about $20,000. Worked a job for a long time. Got hurt on the job. They, instead of helping me, terminated me. Got a lawyer. A year later got $260,000 for the whole fiasco. Not sure if this counts, but that's my story. I was hurt off the job. Went back too soon and kept informing my boss I wasn't ready and still having a lot of problems. Bad. Severe insomnia among others. My boss did nothing and kept me working. I got the feeling I was being targeted to be fired because of the sick leave, so I lawyered up. Documented everything and recorded all meetings. The company got wise I was being smart about handling the situation. Spoke to labor relations and decided to buy me out instead. Ended up with about $40,000 severance package. Enough to ride out my recovery at least. Kinda wished they were stupid and fired me instead. I also only paid about $3,000 in lawyer fees because I found a really good lawyer. My wife's aunt died. She had been institutionalized her whole life and neither of us had ever even met her. We kind of forgot about it for a few months until my wife's uncle emailed her and said she was going to be getting some money. We were like, oh. Okay. That's kinda weird. But not complaining. Then my wife got a phone call from the uncle one evening. I heard a lot of ums, okays, and geez. Wows. Turned out we were getting over $300. 000. We were both grinding away making $15 an hour and barely making rent every month. And then boom. Out of nowhere. That ended up being the difference between having a house and not having a house. Being able to start a family and not being able to start a family. And having a retirement fund versus just hoping not to get evicted every month. I once got a message from Reddit admin. It asked if I wanted to do some contract work in my free time. Over the course of a few months, I made like $5,000 for browsing subreddits and categorizing them by topic and age rating. I didn't get to pick the subreddits I wanted to view though. They'd send me a list of a few hundred subreddits. And I'd have to spend about 10-15 minutes on each sub. I'd check for certain things. Fill out a Google Sheets form. And move on to the next sub. When I finished a full list, I'd email them to get a new one. It was a pretty sweet gig. I was a substitute teacher and a tutor at the time. So anytime a kid or a teacher cancelled on me, I'd do my Reddit thing. Plus, it was an easy job to do while I was homesick. Or waiting for the repair guy to come to my house. Because I had no set hours. I just worked whenever I felt like it. I found $3,600 in a food takeout box in the middle of a giant field. I live in a rich area and lot of drug deals happen, so it's possible I stole multiple thousands of dollars from a drug dealer on accident. Yeah. Contrary to the replies. I doubt anybody died over it. I've known a lot of drug dealers. And I can't think of one that moved enough weight to have a $3,600 transaction that would do some dead drop sh*t in a field. I started an Amazon private label business on a whim in 2015. I made about 25% of the sale in profit after product, shipping, and advertising costs. Sales doubled every month for 6 months: June $4,000, July $8,000, August $18,000, September $40,000, October $84,000, November $175,000. December $362K. I didn't know what to do. I quit my job in January to focus on growing the business. But my time was spent mostly trying to fend off competition, copying my listing and posting fraudulent reviews and then lowering my price in the race to the bottom. It went well for a few years. But I never made as much as I made that first December. Lesson learned. Arbitrage isn't a long-term business. Playing blackjack while drunk in Reno. I had $300 to waste at the $5 table, got lots of free watered down drinks while I was playing, so I wasn't paying attention. I have a rule. 2 piles. One of cash I can waste and another of money I won. I was there for about 3 hours before I realized I wasn't out of betting money and the dealer had changed 4 times. Won $4K at that table. Paid for the trip and a bit left over. I haven't been to a casino since, but I doubt I'd have that kind of luck again. When I was 17, about to turn 18, my mom told me to open a bank account because I was going to get around $500-600 from my dad. Opened the bank account. Signed the papers she needed me to and got a whopping $15. $400 deposited into my bank at 18 years old. 2 years ago, 22 at this point, come to find out he gets a huge settlement for a car accident, I think. And get another $15K dispersed over 5 years. IDK if it was back child support or what, but I was really blessed. I used to play Minesweeper a lot. Some website showed up where you could play in little tournaments. I started with $20 and made over $1,000. Edit. I don't remember the name of the website. This was like 20 years ago. I'm sure it's long gone. Not money. But I was gifted a brand new $1,200 laptop for free once. Just because I posted about needing a new one on a forum. That's cool. I won a laptop like 8 years ago because there was no coffee in the faculty cafeteria. So I bought an iced tea. The cafeteria lady told me to fill my name and phone number. Because the iced tea brand was giving away a laptop. 2 weeks later, I had a call telling me I won. I didn't remember. Turns out, it was a promotion with the 7 cafeterias in the campus and around 3K people participated. I briefly worked with a guy who was in his late 20s. Ex-military. When he got out, a friend of his he served with told him to buy Bitcoin. He bought several thousand worth when it was nothing and forgot about it. When it first started spiking and getting attention on the news, he started looking for the drive because he thought he had some. He didn't, he had a lot of it. Sold well before the peak. Dude made millions. He had an $800 000 house, multiple high-end cars, and came to work a manual labor job because he was bored. Needless to say, he didn't stay long and all he did was show off his money and clock hours not actually working. Normal Reddit reply of not me but my friend's dad's friend. He decided to open an ice business. Hey, everyone need ice. He bought an old warehouse in the ghetto because it was cheap. Government decided to redo the on-ramps to the bridge and needed to buy like 1/3 RD of his parking lot. Maybe say 20 parking spots worth. He didn't care. He had a staff of like 4. Never used more than that. I never heard exact numbers, but I did hear he got more for those spots than he paid for the property. My previous employer eliminated my position. Our whole department actually. I got a severance of 1 week year, which worked out to be 22 weeks of salary. Not only that, I got paid a bonus to stay on for the last 3 months. After that was over, I got a job with a competitor company making the exact same salary and doing mostly the same job. Started the very next Monday. I actually even like working for the new company better. I don't know how random that really was, but it sure felt like a real fortunate way to lose a job. I was celebrating my 20th birthday. Decided to go to the nice casino an hour away from campus with my then boyfriend. We played bingo because that's what I could afford and it occupied some time. We lost. I called my dad. He loves casinos when he has the money to go. He told me to play 3-card poker. I had watched him play before but I didn't know how and was on my last $20 to my name. He told me that would be enough for a hand or two and just give it a shot. The dealer would explain the rules. So I sat at the table by myself. I won. The dealer was really excited for me. But I was pretty clueless. I had a straight flush. Then I just kept winning. People would take the seat in front of me. They would lose. I'd win. Didn't matter. Got 2 more straight flushes that night and lots of other good hands. I kept betting the minimum. Wish I was putting down more. I turned $20 into $3K that night. My dad didn't believe me. Not me but my 14 years old cousin made an abstract art piece that took him 2 minutes max and as a joke put it on eBay for $5K. He sold it. I DK if he was telling the truth but he did give me UAQ 200 for my day. He normally gives around UAQ 20, so it seems likely. Edit asked for a pic. Turns out he doesn't have one. I think he lied. NVM sorry for the inconvenience. I started live streaming on Twitch a few years back when I was 15. I unexpectedly blew up really quickly and amassed a following in only about 2 months of streaming. I made over $2,000. Which was a lot for a 15-year-old. Haha. My friend's father was gifted an oil pencil drawing in the late 70s. His family always assumed it was pretty much worthless and I always joked that it looked like my friend had drawn it as a child. This stilly angry stick figure drawing ended up being an unsigned piece of art by Jean-Michel Basquiat. His family did some digging and eventually had it authenticated by the JMB estate before selling it at Christie's auction house for an amazing sum of money. I was absolutely blown away when I learned this. My friend and his family were far from wealthy, so to realize they had this unknown treasure just sitting out in the living room for so many years was mind-blowing. When Google first came out, I thought it was far and away superior to the search engines of their time. Much more efficient interface. When their IPO came out, I got some. Looking back I have no idea why we were all so excited about Google. But even as kids, I think I may have been a freshman in high school or maybe even still in middle school, we're all of a sudden trashing Yahoo and MSN and whatnot and acting like Google was the shit. When realistically we didn't even know the difference. I quit a job at a startup that was a mess. And I just wanted to do something relaxing, so I took some time of cleaning up an old algorithm I wrote 10 years ago. I told a friend of mine, who told some industry people about it. They contacted me and I got invited to talk about it at a conference, and then large companies started getting in touch. So far I have signed one 7-figure deal to license it. It's not random but it feels very random. I'm making more in interest now than I ever have earned holding down a job. The world is not fair. I was 10 years old. Me and my 2 friends found a paper bag in a shopping cart outside the local grocery. It was stuffed with money. We counted it and it was just over $600. We split it 3 ways and went home. One of my friends later crumbled under the pressure and told their moms, who told our moms. We had to return it. I only spent like $10. Turns out it belonged to one of the suppliers to the grocery who accidentally left it in his cart on the way out. Not a ton of money. But for a 10-year-old kid, man, we were proper rich for a minute. I was a male escort for about 7ish years. Not a hooker. Specifically an escort. I would go with people, usually women. But sometimes men. And would pretend to be their perfect boyfriend partner in front of friends and family co-workers. It started out very much as an accident but ended up making me a ton of money. I recently retired and started focusing on going to school cause I can't do escorting my whole life. And nor did I want, because I really dislike people and it was honestly a chore. Most of my clients were 1% percenters, which is the reason I made so much money. I did pay taxes on it before anyone asks. Forgot I had 11 something bitcoins from back in the day left over from buying pizza. Tried to set up a new account to invest in Bitcoin since I'd used it before and saw I already had an account. Logged in and wow. Sold it all and made like $7K. Imagine the feeling knowing it would eventually reach $20K per coin. My neighbor died with no friends or family and left everything in her will to us. Everyone always asks if we were great neighbors to her. I'd say no. We were just neighbors and treated her as we would want to be treated and did neighborly duties for her. If it snowed, we cleared her driveway without her asking. Took care of her cats if she went to the beach. Say hello if we saw her. She was a tough cookie and an alpha female. Would be the best way to put it. She hated if I played basketball in the driveway, and when we were cleaning out her garage after she died, we found 3 of my old basketballs. But she was also the type of person, if she wanted an apple pie, she would bake an apple pie and take a slice and bring the rest over to us. My ex-husband was a bad dude. He currently owes me over $26k in back child support. When we were together, all of the bills were in my name. He left me for another woman 3 weeks after I gave birth to our second child and defaulted on all of our bills. Both our cars got repoed and I ended up filing bankruptcy 2 years later. Last year I got a notice in the mail from the lender of one of the 2 repoed cars. Apparently there was a class action lawsuit against them for hidden fees, and since the cars were in my name, I was getting a refund of a few $1,000s. I was able to use the money to help move out of my mom's place. My now husband's boss bet the table at the company Christmas party that nobody could tell him what the name of the restaurant meant in English. The silly ass did this at an Italian restaurant. I speak some French and guessed it instantly. Boss man took 7 months to pay up on a $100 bet to a teenage girl. Edit. The restaurant was called Venive, which means come go. I had a co-worker who had bought a new car, and within a week somebody crashed into him and the car was totaled. He ended up getting a little more from their insurance than he'd paid for the car, and moved on. A year later, he got a letter from the other guy's insurance company saying that they had audited their books and found that they owed him money. They sent him a check for $16,000 to pay for the damage to the car they had already totaled. Parents died when I was in my 20s and I inherited a small buttload of money. The real kicker was the house I grew up in. It was a 3-bedroom single family with an attached business in Boston. I was an absentee landlord for a while from another state but decided it was too much of a pain in the ass. So I sold it. Look up what a 3-bedroom house goes for in Boston. Not fast money, but I lucked in to get hired by our employee-owned business. You earn 25% of your annual salary in stock. I have 6 figures worth. I hope to afford a decent retirement. I built a motorcycle back in 2011. Pretty well all the parts on it I built. Took it to a few rallies, few shows, made its way around the internet, some magazines. Had a ton of people ask if I sold this part or that part. So I started in my garage. Sold right about 10,000 parts out of there over the span of 2 years. Bought a shop, more equipment, started automating my processes. Friend that owns a business that supplies stuff to practically every nuclear plant in the world pops in one day. Asks me to design a connector for a surveillance system they sell. Took a day. Had the prototype done. Cut out round about 20 minutes on each individual camera installation. And required no tools. They sold a FCK ton of those. Then jumped into radiation shielding. Big effing money in that. It's been nearly 10 years now. Sell thousands upon thousands of bike parts that I designed and build every year. Travel to motorcycle events all over. Generally have a blast. I'm 31. Pretty well have the financial freedom to go do whatever I want. My last employer before I retired was matching 25% of whatever I contributed to my 401k. I maxed out at BTCH every year even when it got to be over 30% of my salary. Most of my workmates were contributing like 3-5% and I couldn't for the life of me convince them that 25% plus whatever appreciation was the best deal they'd ever see in their lives. I retired at age 62 and my wife retired soon after at age 55. Our advisor predicts a 99% chance that we'll be able to maintain our very comfortable current lifestyle for the rest of our lives even if my wife lives to 100. My former workmates? Probably not so much. A lot of sheer luck has put me in the position I'm currently in. Getting my college degree. Landing a stable 6-figure job. The path I ended up on had lots of little wow I got lucky moments. I could have easily had a much worse life. I put myself in plenty of bad situations. I ended up watching my friends get arrested, drop out of school, have unexpected kids, etc. I was just lucky and missed the shitty hitting fan moments. I was in a car accident when I was 5. About 250,000 inches medical bills. My parents' insurance company and my grandfather, who is a lawyer, went after the other dude's insurance company. We also got awarded punitive damages to the tune of 3.1 of medical bills. Because it's a court-ordered settlement in the particular state, I don't pay taxes on it. I am now 23. I have gotten a payment every year now since I was 18. The actual value when I was 18 was about $560. 000. I have paid for my college and will have the remainder of the money by the time I'm 27. I can effectively contribute nothing to my retirement and I will likely retire a millionaire. At the time it was terrible. I was near death for about 18 hours and in surgery, but now I am perfectly healthy and have only minor scarring on my face. All told, I count myself very fortunate for not only surviving but also having a nice nest egg. Wasn't a lot, but my best friend and I went to Jack in the Box for my 17th birthday. We spent like $10-15 max. Then when we came out there were 2 $10 bills in the grass outside. We each took one. That was a nice birthday. I agreed to teach a class to a school district. A new version of Office and Internet Explorer, i.e. was new at the time. It was a voluntary class. I got paid a flat rate, then I got a per head bonus and a bonus for performance rating. The students rated me on what they learned. Made almost 10k in 3 weeks. Basically showing people keyboard shortcuts and walking them through a slidder show I made the weekend before the first class. It was originally 2 weeks. But there were so many people that signed up after that first week it got extended. The beau came back and bought the slidder show for about $750 and had someone on staff teach the class after that. Got adopted by the 2 best people in the world when I was 4 months old. They did everything they could to raise me and set me on the right path. I have a pretty amazing life. Great job. Fantastic wife. Comfortable life. Great friends. Pretty much owe everything to a random event where I was the kid who got paired with my parents. Side note. I recently found my birth family and discovered I have an older brother who was not put up for adoption. To see his life and what he had to endure is very hard for me. I hit the jackpot and I am thankful every day. Back in the mid 1990s when I lived in Mick, the musical Rent was really popular but they hadn't yet published the sheet music for it. I got hired by this dude who wanted to put on a performance of Rent. He had a bootleg cassette of the show and offered to pay me $50 per song to create lead sheets. I have a really strong ear so it was not time consuming. It wasn't a lot of money. But for a struggling college student it was great. And was definitely the most random way I ever made money. Not me but a guy I know, bit of hippie dude, lazy but makes art miniatures now, super high detail, really good work. But essentially him being lazy, yes he is just lazy, it was not intentional, has made demand exceed supply drastically. So he sells like 2 a year and that's enough to live off. When things like kids wedding pops up he makes one and trades it for whole wedding. Not a ton of money, but one weekend I taught myself how to crochet, so I just started crocheting tiny things and selling them at school and I made a good amount of money. I got a random message from a friend who I hadn't seen since kindergarten that offered me $65 for each pic of my braces I sent. I have no idea what the pics were used for and we haven't talked since. Oof. Regrets. I got an alert from my pharmacy app that my oxycodone was ready for pickup. The strange thing is, I hadn't been to the doctor in months and didn't recognize the doctor name. I had a unique last name at the time. And I doubt anyone had the same name and job as me. But I guess it's somewhat possible. I was with my older cousin at the time. I was 18 and poor. She had 3 kids and recently had surgery on her toe. She only had painkillers for a few days post-surgery. But having 3 kids under 5 meant that she couldn't stay off it properly. And the kids would accidentally step on her. Or hit her toe with a toy. etc etc. She wasn't healing properly. In a ton of pain. But these still aren't great reasons for what I did. She offered me $1,000 to fill the script and give it to her. Being dirt poor, I did. I was worried for weeks after that I'd be found out and in big trouble. Nothing happened. Cousin didn't get hooked on pills. Kids are fine. And so is her toe. I started work as IT support earning around 2k to 3k per month. My company turnover is around 10%, which is a lot of PPL since my company is quite big. My company tried to lower the turnover by promoting PPL. After 5 years I'm now assistant manager earning 7k monthly just by not quitting. I had an aunt that was basically excommunicated from my family for reasons that still are unclear to me. I was super young when the falling out happened, 4 or 5. She was married to some super old guy who was oil wealthy and inherited his fortune when he passed. When I was 23 she passed. And crazily enough I was her favorite. She liked me. And in her letter left to me, I was the son she never had. I remember the way she used to play hide and seek with me but nothing else. It makes me sad that she was kicked out of the family and she seemed to have really though a lot of young me. She left me too. $4 million. I've always in the back of my mind tried to make her proud of me. Cause she was the cool hide and seek aunt I never really knew. Okay, this isn't a lot of money but it's an alright story. I was driving through Nevada all day and stopped in Vegas for my first time ever and I decided to stay on the strip for a night. I was checking into a room and was nice to the desk clerk and she upgraded me to a suite on one of the top floors in the hotel. It was huge. There were probably like 7 couches and even more TVs and a kitchen and a sunken tub. It was cool. I wandered the strip and didn't gamble but had a nice time. Before I left the next morning I was like I'm in Vegas, I got to at least say I gambled, so I bet $20 playing blackjack and won, and I kept betting what I won until I was up to about $500 and I decided to quit while I was ahead. It was the luckiest I've ever been, I think. I was looking for a new friend online. Got a sugar daddy. He just mails me a check once every 3 months of a few thousand after he heard I was possibly gonna have to put my cat down cause I couldn't afford the surgery. I send him pictures of my cat as a thank you and to let him know I got the check. Don't cash them though. I feel weird doing it. Did cash the first one to save my cat. When we had only 3 COVID cases in California, I shorted the stock market in February. Yeah. I have a friend who lives in the US, but has a lot of co-workers based in China. He took most of his money out of the stock market in January or February when he heard from them how bad it was getting. Didn't exactly make money, but avoided losing a lot of money. It wasn't a lot. But when Bitcoin started getting crazy around $9k a couple years ago, I put a few hundred in. Watched it climb all the way to 18k. I figured people were going to sell at 20k because of reasons, my only experience in economics. Currency or commodity trading was effectively RuneScape. So I sold literally right at the AF under 20k. It was a nice 100% return in about 2 weeks, so I was happy to get out and watch it fall right back to where I bought in a few weeks later. Sometimes I wonder how things would have turned out if I bet a lot more than a few $100, but oh well. One time I was walking down the street downtown, and a guy came out of a bank, got in his car, and sped off. Cash flew out of the windows. Everybody on the street was confused for a minute, but not me. I started grabbing that cash, and once it was all claimed, I went back to work and kept my mouth shut. Turns out, that was a bank robber making his getaway. He ended up getting caught later that afternoon and presumably went to prison. But I ended up with a cool $84. He probably dropped $200 total. So I really took the lion's share. Not bad considering it was more than I made in a day at the time. I was working as a stripper for a while. One night, I approached an older man. who looked like a regular Joe. Turned out, he was actually very wealthy and he became my long-term sugar daddy. I stopped stripping shortly after meeting him. He's not J. Howard Marshall rich. But I'm living a very comfortable lifestyle and I don't have to worry about working or paying bills. My wife and I got some stock options when a part of the company we worked for spun off from a much larger corporation. They weren't worth much when we got them. This was the 90s, though. And every tech stock was going up. Eventually, we jokingly decided that we'd sell when the stock price got high enough to pay off the house, after we paid the taxes. Well, one day, right before we were about to leave on vacation, it got there. We briefly thought about holding out for more but nope. We cashed out and left. In the 2 weeks we were gone, the stock price surged up and then crashed. Never to see those levels again. In fact, the stock crashed below $1. The company did a 10-1 reverse split. I think they did this twice. It eventually went below $1 again. And the stock was delisted. Funny thing is that a lot of our friends told us we were crazy to sell. One friend even exercised his options when we did but put the proceeds into the stock market, without having saved any money aside for taxes. We did really well on the deal but it was a combination of luck and our combined conservative fiscal nature. I cut my elder neighbor's yard growing up and helped him with random things around the house. He passed away while I was in college. Came home one weekend and I have a letter in the mail. It was from my old neighbor's attorney advising me he left me his house, money and 2 cars. I was fairly close with the guy, but never knew he had no family at all. Immediately sold the cars. I rent the house out. And I invested 50% of the money. I was on a business trip that passed through Lake Tahoe. 3 people in 1 hotel room. So I went down to the casino to get some space. Couldn't find a blackjack table to lose my $100 at. So I sat down at a Wheel of Fortune slot machine instead. 10 minutes later, I'm absent-mindedly pressing the spin max bet and hit the progressive jackpot. $1. 1 million. It's the sort of thing you assume never happens. But it did. Took a lump payment of $690 which after I pay taxes next week will end up being about $390 I quickly got a financial advisor. Bought my car. Now own a couple investment properties. And bought my now wife a ring. Everything else is quite literally the exact same. Except I have an epic story to tell to strangers on Reddit. One of the smartest people I know convinced me to buy a Bitcoin miner in 2013. I mined a few before the power bills appeared to be not worth the money. Then Bitcoin started going crazy in late 2017 and I looked into trading. I saw a one-liner on Reddit somewhere that said something like XRB about to explode. I was able to buy around 25k XRB. Now nano. In a few weeks I was a millionaire. XRB was only sold at KuCoin I think and BitGrail. I chose the latter. I didn't cash out due to greed. BitGrail went belly up and now I'm in some international lawsuit that will never pay out I'm sure. I now understand why people jumped off buildings in 1929. 2018 was a tough year. But I got through it. I got into a car accident on my way home from dropping my son off to his mom. I'm grateful that that's when it happened. And not while he was in the car. Dude in a company truck blew a stop sign and creamed the shit out of me. Breaking my arm. And giving me a concussion. Well, a few months later, after I had almost entirely healed, I got a fat ass check for 70 grand. I worked at a local restaurant job as a line cook for about 1 month. And we were paid bi-weekly. After a month, the general manager laid me and one other guy off because they weren't making enough money to pay us. And we were the newest people on the totem pole. I'm 100% positive I received 2 paychecks. For whatever reason. About 2 years later, I received a letter from the headquarters of the company for a potential check of $1,000. And they apologized for not paying me. Again. I swear I got all of my money. But since I have a common first and last name. I think they got me confused with someone. Being the honest person I am, I called the headquarters and gave my social security number, but they insisted I was the right person. I have no idea how it happened. I still think the entire thing was an error, but I received an approximate $1,000 paycheck. I loaned a friend $12K to buy inventory to sell flea and tick meds for pets online in the early 2000s. He did really well and went on to make tons of money doing it. He paid me back in like 6 months and sent me checks for $1K a month as a thank you for going on 15 years now. I made him stop recently because I don't need it. It's a pain to account for on my taxes and he's paid me like 10x back for the loan lol. Long story short, accountant of a uni which I decided to resign miscalculated and told me I owe them $300. Then right before I left I asked her SMTH, which made her realize her mistake and that the school actually owed me $800. Inheritance. I'm sort of surprised there aren't more inheritance stories in here. I got some money and land from my grandfather when I was 21. I invested it and I've never worried about money my entire adult life because I know I can pull that out in an emergency. Sort of a boring story lol. Dunno if it's really sheer random. My partner passed away suddenly and unexpectedly from a massive seizure. Had seizures before, but nothing that would indicate he'd die from one. And he hadn't even turned 40. About 3 months later, I find he had a life insurance policy I didn't know about, and made me primary beneficiary. It gave me enough to buy a house, donate to a few causes he cared about, and still have a nest egg to start a real retirement savings off of. I miss him every day, but I guess his last act of love was setting me up for the future, even without him being there. A ton of people wouldn't say this is a lot of money, but hear me out. At the time I was a 16-year-old boy, and I've always had affinity with animals. So one time my pretty rich neighbor went on a vacation and couldn't bring their dog. So they gave me a $500 for taking care of their dog for 2 weeks. And I got their keys to the house and everything. Best time of my life IA. When I was younger, a friend of my brother's asked me to buy him beer. He said he would throw me a couple bucks for my time, so I said sure. I meet up with his at the store and he hands me a $20 gold coin. With my coin knowledge being very low, something about the coin made me curious. I bought the beer with my own money. He threw me $10 and we were all good. When I got home I went online to see the value of the coin. Low end was around $1,000. I took the coin to a collector who basically gave me the value in gold weight, at the time about $1,250. 00. Easiest $1,260 I've ever made. I was maybe 20 years old and bought stuff at auctions and resold it full time, working for myself. One of the other regular auction attendees told me he found some boards in a pallet he bought and wondered if I wanted them. I looked at them and they were new Cisco boards. But this was over 20 years ago. So smartphones weren't a thing and I had no idea what they were worth. I offered him $50 and he was very happy. I ended up selling those boards for $18. 000. No joke. I split the sale between 2 different resellers because I was uncomfortable selling them all to one company. NCAA March Madness pools. I had a good feeling about UConn in 2004. So I picked them in all of my pools. I entered 2 standard pools, and then a winner-take-all pool. They ended up winning, which was great for me. I placed first in 2 of them and second in another. I ended up walking away with $3,200. My mom bought some paintings at a yard sale for no reason. Maybe spent $50 for the 3 artworks. She listed them on eBay and sold them for around $3,500 each, plus international shipping. Turns out, they were painted by a world-renowned Japanese painter who has a museum in Japan. My mom packaged them and shipped them there where they are on display. If there's enough interest, I'll ask my mom for more details and the name of the artist and such. Got lucky on my first career job which paid me peanuts, $40K. Company did exceptionally well. I was living at home at the time, so I invested my earnings on the company's stock. My 12k turned into 230k in 5 years. Last fall I got really into electrical engineering videos on YouTube. And that led to watching videos about related technologies, especially solar and battery technology. I wound up learning about a lot of developing and upcoming battery tech like graphene supercapacitors, SLIC, and solid state batteries. My brain started connecting some dots and I started thinking about how if this stuff is gonna be coming out in the next 10 or 20 years, and considering all the problems with fossil fuel, there's a good chance that nobody will be making ICE engines by the time I'm an old man in favor of EVs that can go 1,000 or more miles on a single charge. My recently deceased dad had left me some cash in his will, so I decided that I might as well just invest it in Tesla stock. Since then that money has more than quadrupled. And it's completely saved my ass because I'm a professional musician in the US. All my gigs this summer have been completely wiped out. And my unemployment benefits have been stalled for weeks. My casual passion for science really paid off. Literally. 1999. Living in a school bus with 8 of my friends. Traveling down the California coast. The bus started to smell pretty funky, so we stopped to collect eucalyptus nuts to make it smell better. Found a roll of cash under a tree. Took it back to the bus. It was $3,050. 00. I randomly emailed 3 YouTubers I watch. Both at the time were all small. Paid me $20 a video. This was for 2013 to 2017, and then Fortnite came out. And now ever since about late 2017 I still edit for the 3 of them. They blew TF up big time. I got paid about $240k for 2018 and almost $300k for 2019, and I get paid monthly, so you can do the math. Their organization pays me $25k monthly and I'm just a 21-year-old living in Tokyo. It's stupidly high just for editing cutcoms. But I'm not complaining one bit. I was a broke teen and this saved me, and I was able to accomplish my goals and dreams of school and etc. I always loved my grandfather's old desk. Spent tons of time drawing and working on it. And after they both passed away they left the desk and its contents to me. Stuffed into the back of the drawer. Buried in a folder. There was a stock certificate for a big company from the 70s. At first glance it was worth a few thousand. Which was awesome. But an overall disappointing return for a stock purchased 40 plus years ago. Turns out the stock had split since then. 7 times. Thank you, Grandpa. I got a promotion at work and was suddenly in charge of a super big, super disorganized department. I needed to create logical, sustainable systems to track our shit. So I taught myself Google Sheets and digitized every single process we have. Other departments quickly noticed. So I started helping them with Google Sheets. Pretty soon everybody wanted my help. But there was no way for me to help everybody during work hours. So I got offered an extra $7,000 stipend to make Google Sheets for other departments during my off hours. Honestly, I would have helped them anyway because I'm just like that. But now they are organized and I'm getting new carpet. Yay. I've been investing lately and doing a lot of day trading, and on one of the trading subreddits there was this massive hype about this stock and how it was about to explode, and people were suggesting everyone go all in. Since I'm crazy, I put 10k at 2.05 and exited at 11.40 and suddenly became $50k richer. I don't think I will ever get that lucky again, so that was the first and the last time I make a huge life decision based on Reddit. Not my story. But one of my dad's friends got really drunk. Put $20 into a penny slot machine or something like that and won $1 million. He did the rational thing. He went to the nearest Chevrolet dealership and bought a brand new, at the time, 2019 Camaro ZL1, 1LE. Bitcoin. I didn't know what it was. But someone traded me Bitcoin for real money as they were in need. I considered it a donation and didn't care. Until it became valuable. I decided land and a home. And not needing to work again was worth more, and that's that. I still work. Because I enjoy the learning of what I do. But I'm not hindered by playing the game of just nodding to superiors when they suggest doing dumb things. So that's another perk. Went to Burning Man with a buddy. We decided to leave early and gave our Burning Man neighbor all our excess alcohol. So you guys going to Reno? Yeah, we're going to get a hotel and then drive home. Cool. Make sure you go to the Atlantis and play these exact slot machines at this time. Yeah, sure. I'm the slot boss. Double quote. At this point we decide FCK it. So when we get to Reno and decide to put $100 into the machine, he said, "Won $2,000. Does you a cute 70 count? I brought a beanie hat for you, a cute one, at a thrift shop. Found out it was an exclusive from a Paramore tour that everyone had been dying to get. And threw it on eBay as an auction. Good times, nearly screamed in surprise when I saw what it went for. Brought Pokemon's game and had plenty left over." So my buddy and his brother decided to make an online perfume resale company. I was like, "You're two dudes and you sell beauty products and perfume, kinda weird but okay." I helped them pack and ship items a few times, and around Christmas their second year they asked me to help, and they had 1,000 orders they needed packed and shipped that night, and for the next couple weeks it continued like that. They branched out into candles a few years ago and were bought by Walmart. Both now have Ferraris and other exotic cars, as well as huge houses in the Los Angeles area. TLDR, two masculine football players made millions from selling beauty products. I graduated in 1990 with an advertising related degree that was suddenly worthless due to desktop computers showing up in businesses everywhere. Not knowing what to do, I picked up some programming books and started playing around with code. I heard about hypertext markup language and played around with it. And by 93 I was coding sites for companies around the US on CompuServe and AOL. And I was in high demand. The portfolio I built up there landed me a job running a high-profile website by 97. And that income paid for my grad school programs so I could go back to doing what I love. Teaching. My retirement is set. My house is practically paid for. And I will do what I love until the day I retire. I'm not filthy rich. Just immensely happy with the random way it all worked out. Stay with me for a minute. There's this guy in my hometown who was one of the very first guys I've slept with. I'm in my mid-20s now and we have been FWBs since I was like 16. He sold me shitty weed, $150 worth, very recently, and said he would switch out for better weed. A week after dodging me, he finally said no, FCK off basically. I was so pissed because we have always been good to each other. Anyway, last week he literally won $93,000 on some card game at our local casino. The casino posted about it and everything. I hate life sometimes. I changed jobs in spring of 2001. It took a few months to get things set up. And then I contacted my previous 401k company to move my money over to the new place. After the old one closed the account and cut the check. But before it got to me, 9/11 happened. Maybe not so much made a lot of money. But I definitely avoided losing a bunch as I had nothing invested at the time. Some years ago we found $500 in the street. Just like that. There was also an ATM ticket with the account owner's name. After a quick Google search we found out that the guy was a businessman that sponsored art. At the time there was a contemporary art biennial going on in the city. So we went there and asked for this person. I think the guy didn't even notice that he lost the money before talking to us. It was a good day. This was in Coimbra, Portugal. Was at a concert. A random lady gave me her VIP swag. Went outside the arena to get a Powerade. Random dude offered me $200 for it. In cash. Right then and there. Said yes. Later, a family friend who also went gave me his VIP swag. I won a trip to Hawaii that was entirely paid for by my company. But it got cancelled due to coronavirus this past May. Got cashed out instead and received $8K. Not too shabby. Not me but my dad. He went with his nephew to the casino. My dad doesn't really gamble and spent $500 total. My dad plays one hand of machine poker and wins 24,000.